Hi all, I am Arjun, Assistant Professor from Department of Mechanical Engineering, Vedavyasa Institute of Technology. I am here to take about suspension system in automobiles. As we all know, the automobile chassis is mounted on the axle, not direct but through some form of spring. This is done to isolate the vehicle body from the road shocks, which may be in the form of bounce, pitch, roll or sway. This tendency gives rise to uncomfortable ride and also cause additional stress in automobile frames and body. All the parts which perform the function of isolating the automobile from the road shock are collectively called as a suspension system. It includes the spring devices used and various mountings from the same. Broadly speaking, suspension system consists of a spring and a damper. The energy of the road shock causes the spring to isolate. These isolating are restricted to reasonable level by the damper, which are commonly called a shock absorber. The main objective of the suspension system are to prevent the road shock from being transmitted to the vehicle components, to safeguard the occupants from the road shocks, to preserve the stability of the vehicle in pitching or rolling while in motion. So these are the main functions or the use of the suspension systems. So what is a suspension system? Suspension is a term given to the system of spring, shock absorber and linkages that connects a vehicle to its wheels. And the objectives to prevent the road shocks, safeguard the occupants and to preserve the stability of the vehicles. And the functions of the suspension system are a smooth ride, accurate steering, responsive handling, support the weight of the vehicle and maintain the acceptable tire wear. Now we can see what are the different types of suspension systems available. So these are the types of suspension system. They are dependent and independent suspension systems. Dependent suspension system, there is a linkage between two tires. The force acting on one wheel will affect the other wheel as well. In independent suspension systems, allow both wheels to move up and down independently. Now we can see different suspension designs used in automobiles. McPherson suspension system, pushrod suspension system, wishbone suspension system and leaf spring. These are the different suspension designs which are commonly used in automobile systems. So the first one, McPherson suspension system. These are the most widely used front suspension system in cars. It comprises of a strut type spring and a shock absorber combo, which pivot on a ball joint on the spring and lower arm. The steering gear is either connected directly to the lower shock absorber or housing or to the arm front or back of the spindle. When you steer, it physically twists the strut and shock the absorb housing. This is how the McPherson suspension works individually as suspension spring. We can see the push rod. A push rod setup allows designer to stick the dampers, spring and any ancillary components in the center of the car. The more weight will be moved towards the center of the car and the lower the center of the gravity and less body roll and more efficiently. This is more commonly used in racing cars, etc. Now we can see the working of the push rod suspension. This is how it will work. The individual, it will move up and down. Then the third one is wishbone suspension. It consists of upper and lower wishbone arms pivoted to the frame member. It resembles the letter A. The spring is placed in between the lower wishbone and the underside of the member, cross member. The vehicle weight is transmitted from body and the cross member to the coil spring through which it goes to the lower wishbone member. A shock absorber is placed inside the coil spring and is attached to the cross member and to the lower wishbone member. It is like a chicken wishbone or a letter V in shape. So it will take the whole shocks on the top of the spring. So this is a double wishbone or wishbone suspension. You can see the working of the suspension into its independent suspension itself. This resembles the wishbone of a bird. Now the leaf spring. It is used commonly in rear axle type. The spring consists of a number of leaves called blades. The blades vary in length as shown in figure. It is the lengthiest blade has an eye on its end, and this blade is called master leaf, and all the blades are bound together by a steel strap, and the spring is supported on the axle front or rear by means of a U-bolt. One end of the spring is mounted on the frame with a simple pin, while on the other end connection is made with a shackle. When the vehicle comes across a projection on the road, the wheel moves up and deflecting the spring. This changes the length of between the spring eyes. If the ends are fixed, the spring will not be able to accommodate these changes of length. This provided for by means of a shackle at one end, which gives a flexible connection. It is commonly used in heavy vehicles or commercial vehicles and trucks, etc. So we can see the leaf spring. So this is a leaf spring which consists of different length blades and U-bolt, and it is connected to an axle, and the movement of the leaf spring we can see from the video. This is how it will works when it will projectile. So by seeing all this, we have understand the functions and the objectives of the suspension system, and most commonly used suspension system in automobiles. And without suspension system, it will be hard to drive the vehicle smoothly. Thank you.